YouTube? It's Missy, and today I'm here to share with you guys my weekly wrap-up. I think this is number 5. I will fix it in the video and let you know the real number if I'm wrong, but I think I'm on number 5. I haven't done a weekly wrap-up in so long, and that's because I haven't read more than one book or finished a book in order to give you a wrap-up. I mean, seriously. I cannot believe I've read 3 books already this month. It's kind of amazing. Before I get started, let me show you my shirt. Now, you guys have probably seen this before, but I haven't worn it in a while. It is Alice. That's my boob. Here's Alice. This is Alice, and it's kind of like Starry Night, like Van Gogh. It's very cool. I love it. My husband bought it for me. I will leave the shirt website down below if you're interested. I can't remember what the company's name is, but it's one of those companies that make, you know, graphic t-shirts, and I love this shirt, so there you go. So last week was the A Year-a-thon readathon, and if you watched my May TBR, you would know that the theme of the readathon was to do rereads. So The Magicians is the first book in the Magicians trilogy by Lev Grossman. This is a reread. I started this book in 2013 and I gave it 4 or 4.5 stars, something like that. And then I reread it, you know, the last couple months, and I bumped that star rating up to 5 stars. Absolutely amazing. The first 50% of this book, I was watching the TV show coinciding with the book, so I could like compare and contrast what was different and what was the same. And then the last 50%, I ended up picking up the audiobook and absolutely loving the narrator. So if you haven't read The Magicians and you do like audiobooks, I would definitely pick up the audiobook because the narrator is very good. And you kind of miss the dry humor and the snarkiness and the sarcasm of Quentin and his friends when you read it yourself, because you're concentrating on what's going on, and then there's a lot of big words in here that the first time around I had to look up and be in the dictionary, like, what is this word? I've never heard it before. But when it's read to you, you know, in a sentence, it kind of makes more sense, and you don't really need to look it up. You kind of get the gist of the sentence itself. So I definitely recommend listening to it on audio. If you have not heard of The Magicians, this is an adult fantasy novel. Again, it's got 3 books. All of them are already out. You could pick it up. And there's a TV show. And it's the best adaptation of a book series or trilogy that I've ever seen. I give so much props to Sci-Fi and the directors and all the people that work for the show, and the fact that Lev Grossman is actually on set helping the screenwriter or script writers with the TV show. It just makes it 10 times better because it's authentic and they're going with his vision and yada yada. So good. If you would like me to do a spoilery, not spoiler free, but an actual spoilery video doing a compare and contrast between the book and the TV show for season 1, let me know, because this is pretty much just season 1. Season 1 had a little bit of extra like storylines going that was not in the book, but it's totally worth it. Everything is worth it. The TV show is amazing. The books are amazing. I cannot wait to pick up book 2, which is The Magician King. Definitely looking forward to that. So if you don't know what this book is about, it's about a boy named Quentin Coldwater. I think he's 18 at the beginning of the book. He is ready. He's getting ready to apply for Harvard, I believe. I think that's the Ivy League he wants to go to. And so on his way to, you know, doing the application and the interview, the guy who was supposed to interview him is dead. And he gets this package from this random person, and as he's like, you know, trying to look through it, a paper flies away and he's chasing after this paper. And when he comes through these bushes, he's in Brakebills, which is a magical school for magicians, and that's where the Harry Potter references come from. Like, oh, this is kind of like Harry Potter because he's a magician or someone who does magic, and he goes to a magical school. It's not like Harry Potter because there's like drugs and adult themes in this book. Still a lot of fun. It also reminds me a little bit of Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe because Quentin is addicted to this middle grade fantasy series, which is Fillory and Further. I think that's what it's called, but Fillory is like the fantastical world that the kids in the book go to, and that is what Quentin's, like, that's his dream of what he wants to do in life. Like, he's never been happy. He always thinks there's something missing in his life, and he thinks if he could just go to Fillory, that all of his problems would be solved and he would be a happy person. And that happens with lots of people, maybe not Fillory, but you try to attain something and you feel like you're going to just, this is going to make you happy, money or love or this kind of friendship or maybe a car, anything. You feel like this new job or whatever you want is going to make you happy, and then you get it and you're not. So it's like Quentin has to evolve as a person and grow and learn that it's not about things that are around him, but he needs to work on himself. So yeah, I really liked it, if you cannot tell. So that was my reread for the theme, or not theme, yeah, for the theme of the Yearathon Readathon. And then the second book that I read last week for the same, excuse me, hitting the camera, for the same readathon was Bad Unicorn by Platt F. Clark. Now, the challenge for the Yearathon Readathon was to read a book that was over 400 pages. I did choose Special Topics in Calamity Physics, and I never really picked up that book, but I did finish this one, and this one is 424 pages, so it works. This is a middle grade. It is absolutely amazing. This is another fantasy. I know. That's 2 fantasies in a row. I'm on a roll. This is about 2 main characters. We have Max Spencer, our human, and then we have Princess the Destroyer, our magical creature, the unicorn. And in the real world, we know of unicorns as these magical creatures that, you know, are peaceful, and they're like the best magical creature out there. Like, they're like angels, you know. But in the real fantastical world of the Magris, unicorns are bad. And our main character, Princess Destroyer, does nothing but do bad things. And so she goes on a quest to find Max Spencer, our human main character, because she needs to find him for an evil sorcerer. And Max Spencer just so happens to have this book called the Codex of Infinite Knowability, and this codex can only be read by him. Whoever touches the book gets shocked, and he's never figured out why that happens, and he's had this book for as long as he can remember. One day, him and his friends are hanging out with this book, and they end up traveling into the future, and he has to figure out how to get back home, and he doesn't know what's going on. And it's so much fun. I've read a couple of reviews on Goodreads that said the person didn't like this book because it was too adult, and some of the things in here kids would not understand because it has like 80s references. And I'm like, middle grade's not just for kids. What are you talking about? Who cares? That is not a reason to give a book a 1 star. I'm sorry. This book was hilarious. The first, it's not even a chapter. It's acknowledgments. My son read this out loud to me. Not the acknowledgments, I'm sorry. The foreword. That's what he read. The foreword to the Codex of Infinite Knowability. He read this out loud, and he fell in love with the book just because of the foreword. It is so funny, and like I said, I loved it, and that's why I bought the rest of the series. And if you like middle grade and you like fantasy and you like humor, I would highly, highly recommend this book. Pick it up. It's the bomb. All right, and the last story that I read last week was on, not my Kindle, but I read it on my phone, but I wanted to have this to hold up. Here's the picture. I will, insert a picture of it. This book was amazing, and I started this book in February. I got this for free from NetGalley, for an honest review. And what caught me was the fact that it was a horror religious book. And so when I think of religious books, I think of Dan Brown because it's supposed to be a thriller as well. And so I was thinking, oh, this is going to be perfect. And then, you read a little bit more and it's about the devil. And I was like, yes, I need this book in my life. And so I picked it up and I absolutely loved the first 19% of the book. But because it's on my Kindle or it's an ebook, I never picked it up. I never think about ebooks because I have all my physical books that I can look at. So I read this book all yesterday. So I had 19% read from February until yesterday. And yesterday I went to go do laundry and I was like, oh, I need to wait for the close. I'll open up my Kindle and I'll read from where I left off. And I didn't stop. And then I finished the book, and it is glorious. If you like Dan Brown, you will definitely like this book. I have all of my reviews on Goodreads for all of the books that I mentioned in this wrap-up. But basically, this book is about a girl named, I want to call her Sobhan. What is Sioban? Sobhan?
Say it?
These nuts? I don't know.
These nuts?
Penis?
No! Shut up! I have to take that out.
Sobhan. I'm going to say Sobhan because I don't know how to say it. She lives in Australia, and she lives with her mom, and one day her mom goes missing, and for 6 years, Sobhan doesn't know where her mother is, and then one day she finds out that her mom is dead, and that she committed suicide, and that she was a nun, and she's like freaking out. She's like, okay, for one, my mom wasn't religious, so why would she be a nun? You must have the wrong person. 2, where has she been? Why did she leave? And 3, what caused her to commit suicide? So Sobhan goes to Spain to find out all this information about her mother and comes across her mom's diary or her confession. That's what it is. Her confession. And the book is about her mom's confession. So we have the present and the past. The present obviously is Sobhan going to Spain, finding out her mom, what her mom was up to, and then traveling back home. And then we have Denise, which is the mom's tale, and all of the things that happened to her from her 28th birthday until she committed suicide. All extremely fascinating. A lot of people have said in previous reviews on Goodreads that the beginning of the story is kind of boring, and I will have to agree with that only because we're not into any thrillery or scary aspects yet. We're like, okay, so there's, 2 girls. One really cares about her mom. The other one could care less where the mom went. She's still bitter that the mom left in the first place. And we're like, whatever. What's going to happen next? Then you get to Sobhan finding the confession and hearing her mom's story, and that's when the book takes off. I mean, 19% of the book, boring. 19 all the way to the end, extremely thrilling. I do want to mention that there is some triggers in this book. It's also written on the Goodreads synopsis, so if rape is something that you can't read, I wouldn't pick this book up. I didn't read anything in the synopsis besides a nun commits suicide, so I didn't know that rape was in the book, but I didn't find it offensive, and it helped fuel my feelings towards, everybody in the rest of the story. So it helped the story along. It wasn't like it was just a rape for no reason. And then there is drug use, which I don't care about drug use. And there's also a little bit of violence. So stuff like that. Things that are going to be in an adult novel if you like thrillers. I mean, the rape's usually not in adult novels, but the rest of this stuff you normally see in those kinds of things. But if you don't like that, don't pick up this book. However, I felt it made sense for the storyline, and it worked, and it made me anxious. I bit all my nails off while reading this story. That's how good it was. Okay, so there's the book. I don't want to tell you any more about it because, like I said, I went into this book completely blind, and that's how you should go into it. It just helps the story along. But it is about the devil. It's about the devil's prayer. It's about the devil's Bible. It has historical elements to it. The author, Luke Gracias, at first I thought it was Garcias, but it's Gracias. He has details in there that he has researched. He even has a website where you can, look up all of the places that the book mentions. I will leave that link down below as well. Super fascinating. It talks about Genghis Khan and about this other man, Armand? Some guy who would kill a whole bunch of people for the Pope back in the 1200s. So very, very fascinating. The Bible supposedly is real. Talks about all of the sea scrolls, the Dead Sea Scrolls, and all these different apostles, and how their stories weren't added to the Bible and the ones that were. I love religious text when it is in historical context instead of like you need to be a Christian right now. So that's just my preference. I just absolutely loved it. I would highly pick it up. I gave this book 5 stars. Totally wonderful. And it is in physical copy now, so I will probably be buying my own copy soon so I can add it to my collection. And that is it, my friends. I read 3 books this week, or, finished 3 books. 2 fantasies, 1 historical fiction / religious mystery thriller. So good. They were all very good. I think I gave them all, Bad Unicorn I think I gave 4 stars, but 2 5s and a 4-star. Amazing. Great week. Let me know down below if you have read any of these books, if you plan on picking them up, and what you read last week, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.